Nothing will ever change what happened.
You're wrong, because I will change it.
Hello, and welcome to the 4th episode of Time Travel Talk. Does time travel really create paradoxes? Maybe not. Today I'm going to talk about my single timeline theory that I call the VCR theory. When it comes to time and time travel, there are a variety of theories people have to explain what exactly time is and what would happen if you could go back and change something that has already taken place. A somewhat popular belief is if you travel back to before you were born and change something that prevents your birth, then this would be a paradox, because how would you then eventually go back in time in the first place? A common solution to this is the idea that you would somehow create a completely new and separate timeline, essentially an alternate or parallel universe that has all the new changes in it, including you not being born, while the original timeline remains intact and unchanged. A good visual of this is here in the movie Back to the Future Part 2, where Doc Brown is explaining to his friend Marty why the 1985 that they are currently in is different from the one they know.
Imagine that this line represents time. Here's the present, 1985, future, and past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate 1985.
Marty then tells Doc that they need to go back to the future to stop Biff Tannen from using Doc's time machine. But Doc explains that doing so would keep them in this new timeline with a now different future. What doesn't make sense is once Old Man Biff from the year 2015 successfully gave the almanac to his younger self in 1955, the older Biff and the time machine should have then vanished, because we know from the explanations in the film that the now wealthy Biff in the altered future had Doc institutionalized and Marty sent to a boarding school in another country, so obviously Doc would not have been able to build the time machine. So you might be thinking, wait, if Doc is committed to a mental institution and doesn't build a time machine, then how could Biff ever get the almanac? This is where my VCR time theory comes in. Unless you're really young, you recognize this once popular device known as a video cassette recorder, or VCR for short. It was connected to your television so you could record anything being broadcast, such as a movie or TV series, and of course, you could play professionally made videotapes of movies that you rented or purchased. So imagine you use a new blank videotape cartridge and record a 2-hour movie that fills the entire tape, after which, no matter how many times you rewind the tape and play it, you are always going to see that same movie. But let's say you're watching TV later and see something you want to record right away but don't have a blank tape handy. So you grab the tape with the pre-recorded movie on it, and as usual it's not rewound, so you quickly rewind it about halfway because the program is starting. Then you press the record button and the VCR begins recording the new TV program from the point where you stopped rewinding the tape. It's important to note here that the fact that the tape originally had a complete 2-hour movie on it is always going to be true, despite being changed by your actions. Just like it's always going to be true that Doc Brown did indeed build a time machine originally, even though Biff created the new history with his actions. I believe that if you go back and change the past, the timeline will be rewritten from whatever point in the past you made that change. It will not create a separate timeline, magically leaving the original timeline intact, so perhaps you could get to it again like Doc and Marty needed to do. This is why the writers of Back to the Future needed to use the multi-timeline theory. If they didn't, the story would be over with Biff continuing his ruthless lifestyle and Marty and Doc probably never even meeting. The actions of all life following a change will replace the original actions, creating a new history on the same timeline, just like recording something new over an original recording on a video cassette. These changes may be subtle, with what I call time ripples, or huge, with what I call time waves, both ever expanding out into infinity. If that is how it works, then there would never be any so-called paradoxes. If you went back and did something to cause your parents from getting together like Marty did in the first Back to the Future movie, yes, you would now be erased in the newly created actions of the timeline, but it does not change the fact that you existed in the original timeline. I do want to emphasize that it's extremely risky going back in time before you were born, because even a slight change of events might create ripples that eventually alter the timing of your parents' daily life trajectories, such as the moment you were conceived. And unlike Marty, I don't believe you will be given notice, such as this photograph, and additional time to correct what you've done before you are
Erased from existence.
Of course, this is all entirely speculative, but that is my belief of what would take place if you went back in time and changed something in the past. Finally, I use the Back to the Future movies for a reference because I think out of all the time travel movies ever made, those have been seen by the most people. I hope I explained this clearly, and whether you agree or disagree, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I will talk with you all next time.